So I worked on, did this actual class with Sheila on Friday morning. She really enjoyed it, so I'm hoping we can say the same for you guys afterwards. So I'm going to start actually in hero's pose. So I'm going to use the block. You could use the block and the brick if you want a little bit more height. If you're using the brick, then you want to make sure you're using it crossways, not lengthways down the mat. You want both sitting bones to be supported by the block. And hero's pose is where we bring the knees together, take the heels out wider than the hips, and then sit back. And as I said, make sure that we're supported sitting bones on something. And just give those knees a bit of a chance to understand what's happening to them. The calf muscles generally tighten up quite a lot when we come into this pose. They're sort of, like rocks underneath us. They take a minute and a half or so to start to loosen off a little bit. Hopefully the toes are able to point back and not twist out to the side overtly. Sit up nice and tall, and then let yourself wriggle around a little bit. Get some length through the back of the neck. Let the front of the chest broaden and open. And then we'll just settle. If it helps to close your eyes, you can do. Slowing the breath down. As you open your eyes, just lift the hands and allow yourself to roll the wrists around. And then roll them in the opposite direction. And then we can bring the palms together, interlace the hands, bring the forearms together in front of us so that elbows are touching, and then just allow the hands to roll over the top of each other. So still stretching through there, but getting a little bit more of the opening in the back of the shoulders. And we'll just let that release and then take some shoulder strokes. So we'll move in one direction. And then take it in the opposite direction. And we'll let ourselves lift up slowly. So we're just going to come up onto all fours, move that block out to the side. Allow the legs to stretch out gently. Always feels like a big stretch now. And then we'll keep the knees wide and sit down into child's pose. So toes coming together. Easing our way back, keeping the elbows off of the ground. And slowly encourage the armpits to open out to the side. And as we do that, we'll be drawing the shoulder blades together a little bit more into the center of the mat. But it starts with the opening of the armpits first. You should feel quite a definite squeeze in the top of the shoulders at the base of the neck. Release armpits back down towards the floor. Take it into a side bend over to the right. And encouraging the breath to move to the side of the body that's opening. Just noticing where it feels like it's maybe a little tighter in some places. Quite often the fascia stretching out. We'll come back into the center and move across to the opposite side. Attempting to have the hands about shoulder distance apart. Come back to the center again. We'll lift up onto all fours and we'll take some cat-cow. So just very soft, spread the hands out first. Have a little maraud from side to side. And then when you're ready, we'll start to draw the chest forwards. Tilt the tailbone up, draw the belly in a little bit. Roll the shoulders gently back towards the pelvis. And then tilt the pelvis when you're starting your exhale, drawing the belly in, rounding the spine up towards the sky, pressing into the hands to get an extra little bit of stretch into the back of the shoulder blades. It's pretty much where I feel it is always in the same place. It's to the bottom of the shoulder blades, that big stretch at the back as I lift up. So I don't know if that's just where my vertebrae move or whether I've got a little bit of tight spot there from something that I don't really recognize. It sort of creeps up on the body. Sometimes those stiff feelings without us really knowing. So I'll come back into a neutral position and I'm going to take a down dog. So I'm going to tuck the toes underneath. And let myself lift up gently. Just adjust the stance a little bit so it feels really comfortable for me. So whatever that looks like for you, making sure that the hands are flat to the floor, there's no gaps underneath. Letting the heels move towards the back of the mat, lifting the hips up and back. Okay, I'm going to take the feet as wide as the mat. And walk the hands back in far enough for the heels to touch the floor. And then once I've done that, I take the left hand over to the right ankle, outside edge, and twist the body underneath a little bit. Keep the legs straight is probably your biggest issue here. After the shoulder holding us up. And then bringing the hand back down and slowly transitioning across to the other side. So just shift the weight a little bit from one side to the other. So definitely working more into my left leg in terms of support. And I'll bring that back down. And then walk the hands in towards the front of the mat again, so into strange shape down dog. Bring the feet back into hip distance apart. Walk the toes in towards the front of the mat. moving towards that forward fold. We'll take a couple of breaths here. And then to come out of this, I'm actually going to move into chair. So it's sort of a two-part rise. Soften the knees deep and let the ribs meet the thighs. Then when it feels safe, let's take hands away from the floor and lengthen them out more or less in line with the torso. Draw the belly in and then allow myself to come up halfway. Inhale towards the sky. Bring the hands through the heart. And we'll exhale down to the floor. Bring the hands onto the shins. Come up halfway. Ease our way down. Come up halfway again. Ease our way down. Bring the hands onto the hips to lift up, soften the knees a little. We'll inhale high again. Bring the hands through the heart down to the floor, and this time we'll step back with the right leg into lunge. Now we'll step gently back into plank. Let the knees come to the floor. Keep the hips high, draw the elbows back, and let the chest drop between the hands. Slide the feet back gently on top of the toes. Inhale our way out into a low cobra. Exhaling down. And one last lift up. Bring the hands to the bottom of the ribs, roll the shoulders back, peel away from the floor. Tuck the toes underneath, sit back onto the heels. And then we'll lift back up onto all fours, walking the hands a little bit. So we're back into that same plank position with the knees on the ground. And we'll lift ourselves up into our down dog. We'll draw the right knee into the chest to come into a lunge. Press forwards into the fold. Hands under the hips and we'll lift up slow. Again, soft knees, keeping the belly drawn in. Inhale high. Exhale low. We're going to do the same again. We're going to lead with the left foot this time. Chance to press out through that back heel, inner thigh working. Hands to the floor, back into our plank. Knees to the ground as we breathe in. Exhale, chest down, shoulders and elbows tight back, feet slide away. Inhale, we lift up. The bootlaces are down, we try and press the thighs down and the toes away. Avoid pulling on the neck. Try to keep the shoulders nice and open, away from the ears. One nice breath in, lift. And again, we'll bring the hands to the bottom of the ribs. So you can roll the shoulder blades back a little bit. As we lift, we sit back onto our haunches. Come up and walk the fingers forwards again. Once the shoulders have rolled back a little bit, you lift into your down dog for a few breaths. Always working on drawing the belly into the spine and lifting the hips up and back. And we'll draw the left knee in, the lunge. Again, using that opportunity to press out through the heel to get the inner thigh to feel like it's doing some work, stretching out through the groin into our forward fold. Hands under the hips and we lift up. Inhale high, come down through to the floor, keeping the weight into the toes a little bit as we come down, taking the right foot back. We're going to place the right hand onto the floor and lift the left arm up towards the sky into a twist. Now we'll bring the hand back down onto the inside of the front foot. And then slowly open the right side, arm up towards the sky. Try and keep the hips over the center line, the back heel pointing towards the sky and pressing out. It's a little tricky on balance. Now bring the hand down to the foot. Bring the hands back either side of the foot. Step back. Down dog. We'll come forwards into plank, and we're going to take a half plank and up dog and down dog. More welcome to keep the knees on the ground if you wish. Avoid coming too low. Probably the biggest thing that we can get wrong in that little sequence, overcommitting, and then we haven't got the ability to keep the shoulders safe as we lift up. And if not careful, that sort of injures the shoulders over time for some of us. We'll draw the right knee in towards the chest again. Come into the lunge. Come into the forward fold. We'll press off the toes. Hands under the hips. And we lift up. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Left foot back into the lunge. Left hand down. Right arm lifts into the twist. Now bring that hand onto the inside. Slowly take the left hand up, looking out to the side, rotating the body towards the side edge of the mat. Keeping the back heel pointing towards the sky, pressing out to a straight leg, so there's plenty to concentrate on. Bring the hands down to the floor, take them either side of that foot, step it back into our down dog. And then it's the plank, half plank up dog. So if you're planking to half plank, push forwards on the toes, keep the belly drawn in, shoulders roll back, lift the chest, keep the belly taut. See if you can roll over the big toes into your down dog. Stepping's fine, not a problem. Did that for many years. Didn't start to be able to roll my feet over, I think, for about 4 or 5 years of my yoga practice. It developed slowly. We'll draw that left knee in to the lunge. And then step it through. Hands under the hips. And we lift up. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Lead with the right foot. Drop the heel in, ready for warrior two. Bring the hands alongside the body to lift. Right arm floats forwards and we open up. Now we'll inhale the hands high and bring them down to the floor on the inside of the front foot. Slide the back heel or foot a little bit further away and then bring the knee down to the floor. Spin the toes of your front foot out to the side and let the knee hang out. Take the weight into your right hand. Start to take your left hand forwards and up towards the sky. Now, as it starts to reach the ceiling and you're twisting your body, you can bend your back knee and bring your foot in. Find your foot. Ease your toes and heels back in towards your buttock. Get a little bit of a bend in the elbow. So we're letting the front knee relax a little bit out to the side. It naturally can follow the foot position. Last breath in. Now, as we bring the hand back down to the floor, having released the foot, we turn the foot back in and have a hand either side and step back into our down dog. We'll move forwards into our plank. Take the half plank to the up dog, to down dog. A few breaths here. And we'll take that right knee in for the lunge. Ease into the forward fold. Hands onto the hips and lift ourselves up. And we'll play with the second side. Hands through the heart and exhaling down. Making sure again, we take the weight into the toes. Left leg goes back. Drop the heel in. Warrior two. Body lifts a little. We take the left arm forwards and cartwheel ourselves open. And then the hands come high and onto the inside of that front foot. Lift the heel and slide the foot out a little bit further so it's meeting its full potential. The front toes point out, the back knee drops down. The right hand comes forwards. We rotate, lift up towards the sky, then bend the knee, bring the foot in. Try and find it. Sometimes you have to have a little look. Big stretches going on in the calves, hamstrings when we do this. Front thigh. We'll release. Bring the hand back down either side. Step back into our down dog. Forwards into our plank, half plank up dog. Bring the right knee in, foot through, and step it in to the forward fold. Hands come onto the hips and we lift up. Inhale high, and through the heart. As we exhale down to the floor, I'm going to move that brick into the center line of the mat. on a higher setting. And then taking the right foot to the back of the mat, into my lunge. Drop the heel in for warrior two again. Bring the hands alongside. Right arm lengthens forwards to help me lift up into my warrior two. So chance here to send the tailbone down to the floor, which is another way of saying move the pubic bone forwards. So you just get this little posterior tilt in the pelvis. Check that the front foot and knee are pointing forwards. And then we'll slowly straighten the front leg, taking the hips towards the back of the mat and extend out towards triangle pose. Now I'm going to take the block and bring that back underneath where we think our shoulder is going to be, so we can rest the heel of the hand down. Going to take the top arm up slowly, roll the chest open to the side, and then bring the hand around the back and see if I can get the fingers to just touch into the front thigh, if not using the waistband. Just trying to get a little bit more opening into that shoulder. So brought the hand down in a nice controlled, slow manner, giving the joints and the muscles times to understand where we're going. Now soften the front knee. Bring myself back up into my warrior two. Going to turn the palm on the front hand. Take the hand towards the sky. Drop the other hand down directly onto the back thigh. And then going to walk the rear hand down my leg as far as I can manage. So I open into a reverse warrior and I'll straighten the front leg. So off from the front knee, come back into warrior two, take the hands high, down to the floor. Move the brick out of the way so we don't trip over. And then step into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips and lift up, and then we'll do exactly the same again, leading opposite leg. So this time left foot goes back. And we'll keep the weight in the toes as you come down, and moving slowly and gracefully. Left foot back. Get as much length in that lunge as you can. Drop the heel down. Hands alongside the body, left arm forwards. Lift yourself up. Remember, take that tailbone down to the floor. Feel the abdominal muscles just draw in a little bit. Not a big movement, but it is there. And then slowly, we'll start to straighten the front leg, send the hips back, and lengthen out in slow motion into our triangle. Find the block, bring it in, get that heel of the hand into the position, top arm up towards the sky. Let yourself look towards the side of the mat, open the chest. Once you think you're ready, slowly bring that hand round into the top of the thigh. And you may be a little bit like me, where you find it reasonably accessible on one side and getting to borderline impossible on the other. So if you need to take slightly different positions, that's fine. It's just your shoulders. even though we're using the block, we can try to keep the abdominal muscles activated and draw in. We'll release. Back up into warrior two. Turn the palm, turn the top arm up, drop the back hand down, and then walk the fingers down as far as you can. We're all going to get to a different place. It's not a problem. And then we slowly start to straighten out that front leg. It actually affects the balance a lot as we do that. You feel a lot of muscle fibers moving around and trying to work out how they're going to cope with keeping you upright, giving your body a chance to work its plan out. We'll come back into our warrior two. Lift the hands high, down to the floor, and lift the brick out of the way. Take a little step into the forward fold. Hands to the hips, and lift up gently. Inhale high, hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor, taking the right foot back into the lunge. Dropping the heel in for warrior two, the hands alongside the body. Right arm lifts, and we open up. As soon as we arrive, we start to take triangle pose again, so we lengthen out. And down, and high. Soften the front knee, come back into warrior two, floating the arms towards the sky. We'll bring the hands onto the inside of the front foot. Allow the back heel to lift and lengthen that leg out as far as we can. We'll take a little breath from here and walk the hands around to the long side of the mat, turning the toes in on both feet. Be on the fingertips, draw the chest forwards, try and send the tailbone back, play a little bit of weight with the weight in the feet. So we want it to be even front and back, so a chance to adjust. Squeezing the thighs together a little bit as we press the feet down. You'll feel, hopefully, the front of the thighs lifting, the inner groins working, belly drawn to spine, shoulders relaxed. Walk the fingers around to front end of the mat again, into our lunge, and step it forwards. And then bring our hands to the hips and lift. And we'll do the same again. Inhale high. And through the heart. Exhaling down to the floor. We'll lead with the left foot. Drop the heel in. Hands alongside the body to get a little bit of a lift. Left arm floats forwards, draws us up into our warrior two. Take a breath, straighten the front leg, lengthen into our triangle pose. One hand on the shin, one hand rises. Soften the front knee, come back up into warrior two. Get the hands high, bring them down onto the inside of the front foot again. Again, we slowly spin the back heel and lengthen the leg. There's always an inch or two extra that we can get. We'll walk the fingers around alongside of the mat. Turn the toes in. Now this time we're going to take the hands a little wider than the shoulders and start to walk them forwards. As you do, you'll find that your body will drop a little bit. Now try to get a nice line between the fingers, the shoulders and the hips. We're still working with an even weight in the toes and the heels. Pressing the feet down and squeezing the thighs together and the belly in. Try and keep the head in line with the spine. It's probably easier on the shoulders and neck when you do that. This is a little more intense in the thigh department, I find, in my body. So if your legs are shaking a little bit more in this one, know that mine are too. Bring the hands back in to lift up halfway. Walk the fingers around to the front end of the mat. Now we're going to step through into the front of the mat, and as we land, we'll just move the brick out to the side and move that about halfway down the mat behind us. Bring hands onto the hips, lifting up. We'll take one more lift to the sky on the inhale and hands through the heart, exhaling down to the floor. We'll step back into down dog just as a transition. And then let ourselves come into plank and lower to the floor. Just bending the elbows back all the way to the ground as we exhale. And then we'll take the hands alongside the body, palms facing down. We're going to take locust pose. So we're going to lift the chest, arms, and legs all at the same time. On the inhale, everything lifts up. Exhale, come back down. So doing our best impressions of being swans. Take one more lift. Bring the hands down to the bottom of the ribs, shoulders and elbows back, peel away. We'll bring the knees back underneath and sit down onto the haunches, so knees together. So very much like hero's pose, but we're sitting on the legs this time. Take a little breath. Draw the hands behind. Roll the shoulders back a little bit. Hands down towards the floor. And then we'll release. Moving back up onto all fours. Knees underneath the hips. We'll take them out wide again. We're going to thread the needle. A nice little flowing sequence here. So we're going to lift that right arm up towards the sky. Breathing in, exhale, roll it down, shoulder and ear towards the floor. Press into the top arm to inhale up again. Exhaling down. Inhale high. Two more. Bring the hand down. We'll take it to the opposite side. last time, bringing the hand down to the floor. I'm just going to move the feet out to the side and then towards the front of the mat. I'm going to have the brick and the block by my side on one side and the strap on the other. Bring the soles of the feet to the floor, knees high, hands behind, chin towards the chest, and roll the spine down to the floor. Then move into bridge pose. We're just going to take one bridge, but we'll do it in phases to lift ourselves up. So I'm going to take the feet hip distance apart, toes very lightly in. Wriggle the shoulders underneath, just a fraction, palm the hands down. Make sure you got a nice long neck. Keep your eyes looking towards the sky and your head facing the same direction the whole time. You draw the belly in, lower the spine to the floor. Tilt the tailbone away from the ground so we get a little bit of height moving it. And then we're going to lift the hips much in line with knees and shoulders. So that's all we're looking for. We're not looking for super height at the moment. Wriggle the shoulders under, make sure we're very happy with that. The knees drawing towards the front of the mat a little bit. Trying to send the thighs, hamstrings, and the buttocks in the same direction. At this moment, the torso is relatively flat. There's pretty much a non-existent implied arch in the spine. And hold that for a few more breaths. And then we're going to lift a little higher. So we're going to move the chest towards the chin. And as we do, we'll roll the shoulders underneath. And see if we can bring the hands together, interlacing the fingers, tucking that little finger out of the way, and using the back of the arms to press down into the floor, get a little bit more height into the spine. Again, we're still trying to draw groins, the buttocks, the thighs, and the hamstrings to the front of the mat. We've got a little bit more chest opening going on. And we're going to hold here for another couple of breaths. And then an opportunity to decide to stay here, go back a stage, or lift up to the final stage of stage 3 of what we're going to be doing today. When I say final stage, it doesn't imply that this is the final stage of a bridging available to us. We can still add variations in further to that. This is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to lift up onto the tiptoes to get the hips a little higher. And just working to pressing the hips as high as we can. And then we're going to see if we can release the hands and bring them underneath the back of the waist so that we can be kind of sitting on the thumbs and the palm of the hand, and then gently lower the feet back down to the floor. Now, I find that in my body, when that happens, I have to then walk my feet out. Now, even perhaps where it feels like they're wider than my shoulders, I don't know if they are. I'm not going to look down to find out. But if I don't do that, then my knees flare out to the side. And although I'm not looking for them to move into the center, I want them to sort of still be over the top of my knees over ankles. I'll take a few more breaths here. I'm still trying to send the knees forwards with the buttocks and the groins and the chest towards the chin. There's a lot of work going on, even though we're supported. And then we'll lift up onto the tippy toes again, keeping the belly drawn in to get a little bit of height to untangle the hands. Bring them back to the floor, bring the heels to the ground, and then lower the body gently down to the floor. Now, wriggle the feet back in to the center line and heels in close. We'll take the strap and we're going to take that around the right foot. So we'll bring that knee in and hook the strap around the little toe, big toe joint and slowly extend the leg up towards the sky. Now, as I do that, my chin is onto my chest and my shoulders are lifted away from the floor. I'm going to bind the strap around my fists and then allow my head to move back towards the ground slowly. So start to draw the leg a little closer to me. And then I'm going to draw the shoulder blades down to the floor as well. And again, my leg gets a little closer into me. The leg doesn't have to be completely straight. I do ask that once we've arrived, we keep the foot flexed and try and lengthen out through the heel. And at the same time, draw the pelvis down to the floor, as you do with your shoulders. So quite specific in terms of the way we're stretching, where we're moving to. Just a little bit more detailed than perhaps when we're doing this as a warm-up pose. Okay, going to release. Bend the knee in towards the body. Chin in towards the chest as I then move the foot down to the floor. I'll set my opposite leg up, so draw that left foot in. Slide the leg towards the sky. Take the bind. Lay the head slowly down to the floor. Feel that extra little bit of stretch in the back of the leg. Use the shoulders down to the ground when you feel ready. And then, like before, you start to lengthen out through the heel and draw the pelvis down with the shoulders. As we mentioned, it doesn't have to be a completely straight leg. You'll still feel it in your hamstrings and the glutes. Release from there as well. Okay, take a little breath from here. Move the strap out to the side. I'm going to come into happy baby. So I'm going to draw the knees in. And I'm going to take the hands down the shins and wrap them around the outside edges of the feet. Now, once I'm there, I'm going to lay the head back down to the floor. If you feel that you would benefit from having the block underneath the back of the head at that point, that's fine. I'm going to try and keep the tailbone as close to the ground as I can, and I'm going to only lift the right sole of the foot towards the sky. So I'm going to take that up. I'm going to keep the left heel in towards my buttock and in towards my groin. I'm going to try to actually actively draw my right knee down towards the floor. Not so much by pulling on the arm, although there will be some effort there to help. I'm going to try and move the knee downwards. So a little bit different. Quite often when we come to this, there is a pulling sensation of the hands. Today we're moving different. Cool. Release. We'll bring both heels back in towards the groin. We'll take the foot up. When you're ready, start to draw that knee down as well. Just see where your leg goes. Perfect. Both feet back down gently to the floor. And now I'm going to take my brick and my block, one on top of the other, out to just onto the outside edge of the mat. And I want to have that kind of lining up with my hip bone. I'm take the leg up, rest it out to the side and use this as a support. I'm going to take the strap around the right foot, lengthen that up towards the sky. And I'm going to take the bind into the right hand. So just single-handedly. Let the leg be straight. So I'm going to release the strap just a little bit through my fingertips until this leg feels like it's completely straight, pointing up towards the sky. And float the left hand out to the side of the mat. And then very gently, with control, start to ease my right leg out to the side. And hopefully be able to rest my leg on the brick and the block. Now, if you don't reach it, you would need to get another brick or block and lift up a little higher until you could get to that place comfortably. We're aiming to have both sides of the pelvis on the floor. So you'll have noticed that as your leg lengthens out, your, in this instance, your opposite buttock, the left side, have moved away from the ground a little bit. So you try to draw that down whilst relaxing the right leg. At this stage, the right arm and right leg are, particularly the right arm and the right shoulder, are relatively relaxed. We're not holding a lot of weight, just a little bit. And we're working on drawing that left buttock down to the ground. And let's start to lift the leg with a combination of the groin and the arm and shoulder. We'll take it very slow, especially the first few inches, to get a little bit of momentum in there. You're at the sort of end of the range of the muscles and tendons, so take it gently. Allow yourself to bend your knee when you're back into the center, and then we'll just move the bricks and blocks over to the opposite side. Take out the leg, bind, and let the right arm come out to the side. So ready to commit. Slowly let the leg out to the side. Sometimes that brick and block seem to be a very long way away. And try to draw that buttock down once we're safely in position. And my buttock isn't actually touching, I'm just drawing it down in that direction to kind of counterbalance the leg out to the side. You could put more weight into the right side of the body by extending the leg out. That does have a better effect in terms of counterbalancing. This is a little bit too close, but we have got the support, so that's why we're working the way we are. Okay, we start to bring back again. Draw the groin slowly. We start to increase the lift in the arm. Slowly get that first few inches of lift, and then it's a little easier as we get towards the top. Lengthen the knee. Untangling the strap, take it out to the side, move your blocks a little bit to the side, and we can come nicely into Shavasana from there. Just sliding the heels out, letting the legs roll open. And now you can definitely feel that you've got two buttocks on the ground. Start to wriggle the fingers and toes. Let the wrists and the ankles move around. Take a bigger breath. Stretch it out in any way that feels good. And slide the heels back in. Let the knees come in towards the body. That gentle hug. Remembering that less is more. And then we'll roll onto our right side. Take a breath as we come down. Use the exhale to lift up. Slowly coming back into an easy sitting posture. A little time to wriggle and adjust. And then bring the hands in towards your heart. Taking a deeper breath in as you close your eyes. Allow the chin to drop and the belly draw to the spine. Bowing to the floor, we seal our practice. Inhale, we lift. Head lifts, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for Sunday morning dynamic yoga. I hope you enjoyed the stretches. And we'll see you on the mat again soon.